Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Max, and another video just talking about some random stuff that I had thought of. And this one specifically was gonna kind of be towards balancing general loadouts, not specifically any one particular character or set of add-ons or item, anything like that. My idea, and this is gonna be a little bit of a longer explanation, but just bear with me because I feel like it's a cool concept. If anyone's played The Last of Us Part 1's multiplayer, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about, and I know that's a small audience, so don't worry, I'm gonna explain it. Essentially, your loadout, all the slots are empty, same as this game. But by default, you would have like a secondary small pistol in The Last of Us. And your loadout, rather than having a primary, secondary slot you can use for like in-game, mid-game transaction to buy like better armor or a good gun, and then your bunch of perk slots, you were limited by a number of loadout points specifically. And the points were allocated to the different slots if you wanted to fill them up or not, so that you couldn't run the best in slot of every single item over the game, because it would be above the loadout point limit. So what I mean by that is, for example, my brother would like running a big run and gun, shoot everything you see play style. And so for his loadout, he would spend, 5 of his 12 points towards this like really strong primary weapon, like a scoped rifle, as opposed to me, where maybe I don't want to use a primary, so I don't put anything in that slot. His secondary would be like an upgrade to a shotgun. I would just keep a pistol. So 8 of his 12 points have now gone into getting really good guns. I still haven't used my points. But now when you go to the lower end where you have like perks and stuff, now he's only left with 4 points to allocate to a bunch of different perks. And each perk also had different levels. So there was like a level 1 version of a perk where it would be like small aura reading ability, like through walls. If you remember the game, like you would be able to like listen really closely and the game would go to like black and white. So like at level 1 you would be able to see like little white pings. At level 2 you were able to see like footsteps kind of echolocate off the ground, so you knew how the person was walking. And then I think at the higher level than that, you actually were able to just get heartbeats within a very small radius, so you could tell if someone was around the corner. Super strong, very important information perk. But like with his pretty good gun loadout, he couldn't run the highest level of that information perk. Whereas if I chose to not bring guns, I could run super sweaty information perk, a good resource gathering perk, and I think I also ran another, like, it was like a pseudo stealth kind of ability. But the point being, out of the 12 loadout points, we now had drastically different builds, whereas he wanted to go for a good gun route and I wanted to go for insane perks. The reason why I say this, and obviously I just think this is a cool idea, because DBD has different levels for their perks, and quite frankly, once you get to the level 3 version of a perk, you never go back to level 2 and 1. And when they were initially proposing the blood web changes to make the grind more efficient, I thought they were going to get rid of the levels for teachables. I don't think those are very useful. I mean, in the current state of the game, it's like there's not a single perk I'd rather have at level 1 or 2. I think there was an original thing, I think it was like Whispers or something, where people wanted it to be a bigger radius. Don't quote me on that. I don't recall the specifics of it. But out of all of that, I thought that this would be a unique component to propose a attempted balance change, so to speak, for Dead by Daylight, because some perks are admittedly strong, and we know that right now. If you look at the build I'm running on screen, this was from a stream that I had done earlier, I have a meta build. It's Prove Thyself, Circle of Healing, Off the Record, and an Exhaustion perk. I just picked Life because I wanted to try something new. And that's a really, really good build. I don't have an item or add-ons. I usually don't bring an item when I'm playing Survivor. I just like hoarding them, admittedly. But nothing's stopping me from bringing a Commodious Toolbox brand new part and extra, charges for it. I could very easily still be quote-unquote sweatier than I am right now. And I think even the same side on Killer. I know a lot of people are frustrated with the perk Eruption. It's a strong perk. I'm not even going to deny it. But it's also in combination with Call of Brine, and I think usually it's like Jolt, and then the other fourth perk is Pain Resonance or probably some information gathering perk. I've seen like Discordance and other stuff like that. I don't know what's exactly the best one, but point being, there's very strong perks. And rather than having to balance something by say, okay, Eruption's like incapacitated status needs to change or tune the number down, this new possibility of a point system could make it so that these perks can exist in their stronger state, but now because there's a limitation to points, you can't run the sweatiest 4 perks for killer or survivor and the sweatiest add-ons for said killer or attachments for a god tier medkit or a god toolbox for survivor. And you know, obviously all the numbers I'm about to give are arbitrary, so don't take them literally. But for example, like your loadout in DBD is worth like 20 points, right? And if I'm playing killer and I want to run Call of Brine, that's 6 out of my 20 points at level 3. But level 2 and level 1 could respectively be like 3 and 4 points maybe. Who knows? I don't know how the perk scales, probably should be more linear. But if I wanted to run maxed out Call of Brine, maxed out Eruption, let's just call that 5 or 6 points because that's a pretty strong perk too. And then if I give like Pain Resonance 5 points, right, at level 3, now the meta 3 perks are 17 out of my 20 loadout points. The last 3 points would have to be allocated to either a mid-tier perk, and then I actually just have no add-ons, or I would use like maybe some brown add-ons, and now I don't get my 4th perk. But I have 3 strong perks and a solid build. This is obviously not like a fantastic idea. I'm not saying this is like wow groundbreaking stuff, but I think it's cool because it re-implements the level 1 and 2 variants of perks that I think in the game right now are kind of just a slog to get through the Blood Web. And the Blood Web's got a whole other set of issues. I'll probably make a video on that coming up, just changes I would make to the Blood Web in general. But I feel as though there is no reason that there is level 1 and 2 perks in the game, and thinking about that old multiplayer experience made me realize that's a cool concept to just completely ignore. The fact that you can't take advantage of weaker versions of perks to make space for something else in your loadout. And this is also cool too because it does propose a new concept of how to balance, in the sense that if a perk is too strong, you can nerf it directly, like change some of the numbers, change its mechanics, rework the perk entirely, or increase the number of points it's worth. And now it takes up more of a loadout. It's not necessarily harder to justify if the perk's still better, but that does change the perks you can run with it. And now something like that would be interesting, since you can actually just run different combinations of these collective point amounts that don't 100% coincide with being best in slot at all times. I think there is kind of an issue with that though, with the current system that's in place. Some people just may want to run good perks and not add-ons, and now your add-ons are going to start stockpiling and you never really get to use them very much. So I understand that that's kind of an issue. Also, the fact that with Survivor, I mean, I don't usually bring items, but like I'm committing all of my points to Ada as like my main survivor. I cannot for the life of me get through all of her items. I think I'm sitting on like at least a total of 200 common and uncommon rarity toolboxes, medkits, and things like that. And I know if I play 200 games of her and save up all those blood points and spam it back into her Blood Web, I'm going to still end up with more than I know what to do with. So limiting it might not necessarily be the best solution in terms of like how inventory is managed and stuff. But I like the concept. I like the idea that you can also balance a game by limiting the best quote unquote like in slot stuff that you could choose to run by a point system. That's pretty much it. If you guys like that idea, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Like maybe say like, hey, I liked this concept, I like maybe this could be worth like X points, or maybe you have a completely different tangent to what I was just talking about for how to balance perks outside of directly affecting them. And I think that would be a good thing to discuss. I like having those bigger ideas more than just how do we immediately change one problematic perk. And sometimes you do need to do that. You know, like Noed, the fact that you can see its aura now helps it quite a bit. in the sense that it doesn't feel as oppressive because you know where to look for it. But some perks like eruption, I think personally probably should get nerfed like outright. Its effect needs to get toned down, but it's just a cool new idea. That's pretty much it. Once again, I looked at like my YouTube studio sub count and it was at, I think it was like at 69, which is nice. But thank you guys for all the support and growth. That's super sweet, and I can't thank you enough for all the nice things you guys have been doing. Like the video if you liked it. Honestly, dislike it if you didn't like this idea, and let me know in the comments some ideas you would change, some things you don't like. But that's about it. Thanks for a little short video, and take it easy, guys. Peace.